Hey, what is up everybody? Welcome back to my channel, and in today's video I'm going to be reviewing the American Horror Story Cult Season 7 season premiere titled Election Night. I'm really pumped to talk to you about this, guys. Also, there will be spoilers in this video, so if you have not seen the episode, I highly suggest that if you plan on seeing it without wanting it spoiled for you, to stop watching this video, go check out the episode, and then come back and join in on the discussion on this episode. I am just gonna come out and say that I was kind of mixed on this episode. There's things I liked, there's things I didn't like, and I always like to start with the positives. So let's talk about the positives real quick. The season starts off on election night in Michigan. We're introduced to our main characters of the show. We're introduced to Sarah Paulson's character, Allie. We're also introduced to her wife, Allison Pill's character, Ivy, their son, Oz. And then on the other side of the spectrum, we were introduced to Kai, played by Evan Peters, and his sister, Winter, played by Billy Lord. So now you know all the major players. You're introduced, like right early on, you're introduced to the main characters. And they announced that Trump wins the presidency, and Sarah Paulson lets out one of the most incredible blood-curdling screams I've ever seen. I mean, she's just shocked. She's just very upset about it. There's actually some pretty good comedy with the people they're hanging out with who are talking about like they should have went and voted and all this, but she was doing something else. I think it was like yoga or something. I don't know, man, but it was really good. And that was good early on in the episode, like 30 minutes in. It was really interesting to see both sides of it because Kai, played by Evan Peters, goes nuts. He's loving it. And all in the first like 2 minutes, he's humping a TV, he drops an F-bomb, and he puts Cheetos Puffs in a blender, blends it up, and puts it on his face, and does full orange Cheeto face in this episode. So just when you thought you've seen it all in American Horror Story, we have our first sighting of orange Cheeto face in a show, and it's crazy. I don't know how to feel about it. It's so weird. But Trump wins. Two things happen. Allie, played by Sarah Paulson, she really starts getting these phobias back. She has these phobias. I won't get into every single one of them, but the ones that really stick out are her phobia and her fear of clowns. She's also afraid of like holes and stuff like that. She actually goes and talks to her psychiatrist, played Cheyenne Jackson, and she actually just discusses like, look, ever since Trump won, man, this stuff's coming back. Like I'm seeing clowns. I'm getting scared again, dude. Like all this shit's happening, man. Like that thing's got holes in it, bro. I can't look at it anymore. And so we already know her character is kind of going nuts. Like she's like kind of going crazy for what it looks like to us, but maybe she's not. We'll see. Also, we got Kai, who's doing all this stuff. He finally gets to put his plan in motion. I don't even 100% know what he's wanting to do yet, but he's definitely wanting to instill fear in everybody. And I'm very interested to see what Kai does throughout the series. Like I think that they're playing him up to be this huge, this huge personality, this sinister guy, but I think that there's going to be some interesting developments that happen throughout the show, and I'm very interested to see what happens with that. So the first 30 minutes of this episode are fantastic. There's actually a really good scene in the grocery store where Sarah Paulson's character is like seeing all these clowns. I mean, there's literally clowns humping in the produce aisle. She meets this Trump supporter who's like puts on the Make America Great Again hat. It's just this really weird vibe, and it's crazy, and she's like really seeing these clowns, and like they're all over the place, man, but she's the only one who sees them. So this season I think is going to deal a lot with fear, like fear in and of itself, like what we're seeing, what we can believe, what fear turns us into, the idea of fear, how it affects our personalities, how it affects our relationships, our friendships, all this different stuff. And Allison Pill, God bless her, she's like putting up with all this stuff. In just one episode, Sarah Paulson has like 3 mental breakdowns, man. It's not good. And it's really straining their marriage. And Oz, man, he really gets into these drawings of like Twisty the Clown, and we see a good little throwback of probably the creepiest run I've ever seen, which is Twisty the Clown's run in the flashback scene, or his like imaginary scene of like Twisty the Clown. And so it's just crazy, man. So we have all this stuff set up. We have all these different plot threads set up to where we're really going to dive into different phobias, different fears, and I think that's the point of the series. And that was the one thing that I was very torn on, was like they really presented a lot of different things. Like there's some home invasion stuff in this. There's definitely clowns. Like I said, the stuff with the holes. I know they haven't shown up yet, but there was a big thing about like bees and stuff like that. Billy Lord's performance as Winter, I thought that she had the best performance of episode 1. She was absolutely fantastic. I was really intrigued with her character, just about how she carried herself. And then when I started understanding more about her, she has a really great screen presence about her. Billie Lourd's fantastic in this so far. I'm probably most excited to see how her character evolves over the series. I think she has the most potential to be the most mysterious, layered character in the entire series. One of my concerns though is I really thought it was kind of funny with the political jabs and stuff. You know, it kind of makes things feel current. It kind of makes things feel right now. But the one thing I loved about American Horror Story is it kind of was in its own thing. It was its own world. It was its own vibe. And with the political stuff, they kind of go to it a little too much, I feel like, in this first episode. So I'm hoping they just do this in this first episode, and then the rest of the series, while touching on it, it's less of a plot point. I get that they had to on election night, but it kind of just gets tiresome after a while. As with Sarah Paulson's character, I think Sarah Paulson is one of the best actors working today. She's a fantastic actress. She's incredible in everything she does. She's absolutely brilliant every season. And she's a great actress here. She does great with what she's given, but I just hope that they don't have Sarah Paulson become the screaming, crying character, and that's all she's doing. Let her character have more layers and stuff like that. So I'm interested to see how that plays out, because in episode 1, I felt that was like, she was very one note, you know, and after like the third mental breakdown she had, it was kind of like, my goodness, man, in like an hour time span, like this is already getting tiresome. And then also with the horror elements, the great thing about American Horror Story is people are afraid of different things. I'm not afraid of clowns and stuff like that, but I know a ton of people probably are. And so it's one of those things where, like, if it scares you, it scares you. So it's hard to talk about horror and tell you, like, hey, was this episode scary? I think for people that are afraid of that stuff, it's scary. There was definitely some interesting ideas here, but I do love how American Horror Story just doesn't give a shit. They go over the top all the time. So I'm very excited to see how this all plays out. And I've mentioned that like 3 times by now, but I don't want to be too harsh on the first episode, but if I'm just being honest, just on the first episode alone, they really did a great job of building the foundation for the rest of the season. But this episode just left something lacking for me. I wasn't the biggest fan of it. I think it was one of their weaker pilot episodes, or one of their weaker premiere episodes, excuse me. And that is just my opinion, though. I know a lot of people loved it. I've already talked to a couple friends of mine, and they loved it. So it really is kind of what you want to make it. It's kind of what you're into. And just narratively and structurally, this episode just didn't do it for me, really. I thought there were some really good things about it, but some really frustrating things about it as well. But I am excited to see how this series plays out. I think that this episode will be the weakest of the season. I really think when we look back at the season as a whole, we'll say that it got better throughout. It really has potential to be great. But if we're just talking about this episode, I give the election night episode a C. It's just my opinion though, guys. As always, it's just an opinion. It's just mine. And I hope to hear your opinion in the comments, even if you disagree totally with me and you love this first episode. I will say, however, that I'm very excited for the rest of the season, and I'm going to be watching the season, and I'm hoping to bring you guys more American Horror Story reviews and talks. So if that's something you'd like to see in the future, please let me know in the comments. And don't forget, guys, every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, I upload videos on movies, TV, and pop culture. So make sure to hit that subscribe button, go a big thumbs up, and I hope to see you guys next time. Bye.